What is going on, everybody? Alright, today we're talking about braking. If you haven't seen the previous video, I did going over kind of the basics of our body position. We're going to cover that just briefly, but now that I'm saying that, really all of braking we want to be doing in that position, so might as well cover it again, and you're probably going to hear some repetition, but repetition is good. So the first step in braking is actually not braking at all. It's just letting off on your throttle, where you just want to slow it down a little bit and brake when we have to. So I am a firm believer in coasting, and fun fact, a lot of the reason why there's traffic on highways is because of people hitting their brakes when they don't need to. So that's a hot take, and if you hit your brakes unnecessarily, you need to change the way that you drive. But when it comes to braking, letting off on the throttle is going to be our primary way to go. Now, braking going down a hill, especially if we're going quick down a hill, we're going to go from that neutral body position, then we're going to plant that front foot forward, and we're going to be putting most of our weight on our rear foot. The actual braking that we're doing, we are not pulling back on the handlebars. That will put extra stress that is unwanted and unneeded on our stem, which will cause to some breakage, and you just don't want that. So we're just going to lean back a little bit on that rear foot, plant our weight there, and squeeze. Now, I personally do not like when I have to change my brakes out at different times. And one way to avoid that, and actually one way to brake and handle better when you're on your scooter, is to apply both brakes. So I start off with more bias to the rear brake, and then I apply a little bit of pressure to that front brake, and I modulate. Modulate is just to change it up a little bit. So, fun fact, I know that there's an accident up here and nobody's getting through, so I am going to be changing my route. It's good to be informed. Yeah, I am going this way. Woohoo! Yeah, it always sucks when there's like just a couple of main roads that everybody takes around where you're at, but I like back roads anyways. I find them to be more rewarding. So, when we brake, use both brakes, honestly. It will help you out a lot. It'll give you more longevity in both of your brakes, not just in your rears, because people like to spend a lot more time on the rear brakes than they do anything else. See? Look at all these people that are trying to backtrack. Okay, what way do I want to go? I'll just sit behind here for a little bit. So we're just going to apply a little bit of pressure on both pads, both front and rear, and we're just going to cruise. I'm going to coast a little bit down here by squeezing both brakes. Hey look, another guy on a scooter. He should be wearing a helmet. I'm just going to slowly roll down this hill because I don't like having to stop and put my feet down. But that is the basics of braking, and this is going to apply for your low speed braking. Just a slight lean back. It's going to apply for your high speed braking, your emergency braking, downhill braking, and I had to put a foot down. It's always fun to test yourself a little bit on your balance, see what you can do. Everything is diverted every which way around here. Not ideal, but it is what it is. Okay, so you're going that way. I'm going this way. Now, I am a firm believer in practicing what I preach, so I'm going to show you that this works for emergency braking as well. It's not my favorite thing to do, but I want to show you that it works. So here we go. All right. we'll do it coming up to the sign up here as well. So just cruising and brake. So many cars everywhere. Okay, my turn. So like I said, this is going to apply for all of your braking, whether you're lightly braking or you're doing your heavy braking. The big thing we want to avoid is having to skid or slide out. And I promise you can use a lot more force on your brakes than it feels comfortable to do. But you want to practice, especially with that emergency braking, so you know where your limits are. So this week, give it a try, practice that braking, and remember, all of our braking we're going to do from that leaned back position. We don't want to, throw the scooter out in front of us, because that would be bad. But you want to practice putting your weight on that back leg and just brake. And it's going to help you out a ton with your riding. We don't want to do a bunch of really hard braking on our scooters. We want to do it nice and gradual. Gives you more control. It does make it so that your brakes warm up at a more uniform rate rather than a big spike in heat. Those spikes in heat are going to create more friction and cause your brakes to give out a lot faster and even give imperfections and break on you. Now we're going to talk about brake material. So I know when you're doing your brakes, if you've done them yet, it can be tempting to just go with the resin pads. I've done that. I don't like it, okay? The resin pads, for the speeds that you're going on an electric scooter and for overall wear and tear, they just don't do very well. And you're going to be far better off if you spend the money on a good quality set of a metallic or a composite brake. I really like the metallic ones. I find that they last a lot longer and I have a better response with them. So when it comes to brake pads, if you are questioning what to get, don't do resin. Spend the couple dollars extra and get the higher quality ones. I really like the Tektro or the Corky Cycles ones. Those I have had really good luck with. But you want to make sure you're taking care of your brakes. Also, if you hear a when you're riding, chances are it's because you have some rubbing on your brakes, which happens. So you'll want to make sure that if that is happening, you adjust your brakes and you make sure that you're aligned properly. Sometimes the rotors on your scooter will get a little bit warped, so you want to make sure that you're taking care of that, straightening up so that there's less noise, less rubbing. And you also want to make sure that the second you have sponginess in your brakes, that you service them. We do not want to allow any sponginess or any inconsistencies in our brakes. So if you are uncomfortable bleeding your brakes and doing a brake job yourself, then I would, hello cat, then I would encourage you to have somebody else do it. Take it to a shop. Brakes are not hard to do. You just have to do it a couple of times, get your repetition in, and you can do your brakes whenever you want. I actually have a bunch of brake bleed kits that I have, and I do my brakes maybe every other month at the most. It's very good to make sure you're on top of maintenance, especially when it comes to your brakes, because going fast doesn't do you any good if you don't have the ability to stop. So before I end my ride, we're just going to recap. Braking position, plant the weight on that rear foot. Don't go out too far to where you're pulling on your handlebars. Just go back to offset that weight. Squeeze. This is how it'll work for your hydraulic brakes. If you have your regen brakes that are the thumbs, then push down with a little bit more bias on the rear, and make sure you practice so that you know where your limits are. Make sure you can stop quickly, okay? But that is all I got. Y'all have fun, be safe, make good choices. Have a great day.